attribute that to all of you being so ingrained and passionate about music, or just because sometimes you have an attitude?
Well, we
no.
all we are teenagers, so
We just
obviously
hate each other.
the attitude is a thing.
So those
But
random emotions
really
that happen.
I think a lot of time it is the music, because we're all really good about when you enter that practice room. You have two options. You can leave your emotions at the door, or you can show your emotions through your playing and your music.
It's not our time to say we're right. I promise I wanna make this work.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Living in the Limelight. I'm your host, Jay Huller. As a quick reminder, please follow us on Instagram at Living in the Limelight Show, and check out our website at livinginthelimelight.com. And of course, you can find our podcast through all the major streaming services, including Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Each week, we feature a conversation with a different artist where we delve into what makes them tick, and sometimes we get pro tips on pursuing a career as an artist. If you're a performer who would like to be considered for our show, check out the questionnaire at livinginthelimelight.com, and thanks, of course, so much for listening. Five Piece Kit is a 4-member band based out of Woodstock, Georgia. They debuted their EP, Out of My Hands, last August, and what you just heard was a snippet of their most recent single, Say We're Right. And today on the call, we have all 4 guys, including vocalist Josh, bassist Jared, guitarist Austin, and drummer Michael. So let's welcome Five Piece Kit to Living in the Limelight. All right, so this must be Five Piece Kit. Welcome to Living in the Limelight. How are you guys?
Good. Thanks for having us.
Excellent. Excellent. My pleasure. Hey, one thing I will let you guys know when we interview bands, it's very, very helpful to at least at the forefront say your name when you reply to something, so that whoever's listening there can go, oh, that's Austin, or that's Jared, or whatever. Your people know who you are, but hopefully we can get you some more fans, and they can go, oh, okay, so I know what he's talking about. Very cool. Well, I was just doing a little bit of prep work, and I read in the story that you guys all met in the drum line. So I want to go there first, because that's part of your origin story. Maybe how it was that you guys were you all in percussion at the time, or were you parts of the drum line, or was this that kind of like that environment that brought you together?
So this is Austin speaking. Yeah, I'll take this one, Michael.
Okay.
So we all started in percussion together. Now, Michael, me, and Josh, as of right now, are all in 12th grade, and Jared just recently graduated. So for the majority of our time in high school, we all spent it together within the band class and marching band. And I think all of us have been playing percussion all through middle school and high school. So when we got to high school and we were marching band together, we just kind of clicked. None of us had really played any other instruments at the time, but band is definitely what started us and brought us all together completely.
Yeah, and I have known numerous band students, my daughter included. She was a drum major and played flute, and it's in almost every school, I'd imagine, it's a tight-knit community, because you guys are putting in a lot of hours. You're prepping the show and all that. So the question is begged from this. So everyone but Michael stemmed off into another instrument, and you got Michael left kind of holding the sticks for percussion. And is there well, for one thing, I got to imagine you guys have a super, super sense of tempo. Because that just is innate in a drummer, right? You're carrying that tempo. But is there like a little bit of pressure within the band, with the other guys looking at Michael and saying, okay, well, I would have done that differently on the drums? Or is all of that kind of behind, now that we've got your vocals and we've got a bass player and a guitarist and you've got your own zones? Is the percussion element of it now kind of compartmentalized with you, Michael, only?
Well, I hope there's not tension. I hope my playing is good enough for everyone's standards. But yeah, we kind of all agreed that well, it was more of a while we went through high school. Everyone started learning different instruments. Like Austin picked up guitar in high school,
Mhm.
so he was the one that kind of like took the first step for creating the band. And Josh was singing, and he liked to sing already. And not to brag, but I would say I was the best drummer out of all of them because I've been doing it
Throwing some shit.
like
Oh, easily.
a few years.
Hey.
But yeah, and then Austin, if you want to tell him how Jared picked up his instrument.
Oh yeah. So when I really wanted to form a band because my cousin, when he was in high school, he had a band. And I just thought it was the coolest thing ever.
Yeah.
So I'd already been picked up. I picked up guitar for a little bit, and I was like, oh, I need a drummer, and it was the easiest decision ever. I was like, oh, it's easy. Michael, I've seen this dude. He's got chops like no one else had ever seen.
Uh-huh.
And then I was like, oh, my buddy Josh, he's in chorus, so like he sings. And my only struggle was like, I need a bass player, and I had no one that played bass. And I remember Jared mentioning just casually that he was talking about picking up another instrument, and I was like, this is just the most perfect timing ever. And I barely play bass. So Jared had actually learned bass to be part of the band.
That's insane. It's like an
and I will say,
audition.
Oh yeah, and the little bit that he's been playing, he's just been killing it. He's improved so much, and he's really turned into an actual bass player instead of someone that knows how to play a root note.
So maybe a question stemming from that, because I'm trying to envision this, and someone who's listening to this podcast is going to wonder it too, I'm sure, is like, okay, we're using the terminology, so he just picked up the bass. Obviously, there are two actions. There's picking up the instrument and looking at it and going, what the heck does this thing do? And there's picking it up and having like practice time and ability with it. How do you think that there's something innate within all of you guys? I mean, clearly you gravitated to the drum line, and you've got a sense of rhythm, and you've got a sense of music just kind of boiled inside of you. Do you think there's something like you were all born with, that you can pick up an instrument and learn it? Because that, I'll tell you, is a daunting task for a lot of people. They're scared of it, right? Can one of you or some of you talk about like the process of it, going through the motions of picking up an instrument, and the excitement or the frustrations, and maybe to speak of, is it something that you can encourage someone else to do, and how they might approach it?
Yeah, this is Jared speaking. Well, when I was growing up, my dad gave me the option. He loves to say that his kids could either play the drums or move out of the house. So
Wow.
he played the drums. He played the drums. My brother played the drums. So it just kind of made sense when I got to that age to start. So it definitely was like kind of a bit daunting, especially when you grow up in a house full of musicians, to try to get to the skill level that they're at. And so I like to think that I got pretty good at the drums. And then when Austin started putting this band together, and he was like, he wanted to join my band, I was like, great, I'd love to play drums. And he goes, no, you'd be playing the bass guitar. And I was like, I've never picked up a bass guitar before. I even held one. So I started on Austin's because he owned just a Yamaha, and I played it, once or twice, and just for practice. And then I actually ended up just buying one off of a friend at that time. And I was like, I'm just going to jump all in. And there's definitely a big learning curve, but moving from the drums to bass guitar, honestly, I didn't really think that it'd be as similar as it was. The bass guitar is really part of the rhythm section.
Yeah.
So that bond that Michael and I also have too was just kind of like reinforced, because coming from being a drummer, and then one of my closest friends being the drummer, we just really gelled together, and it was a lot of fun. But it definitely was a big learning curve. But I think with enough practice and effort, that anyone can really pick up an instrument.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you. It might be a struggle for them. Well, two things: mechanically getting their fingers and manipulating the instrument, and then two, that sense of following along with the way a rhythm is. Like, seems like some people have good rhythm and some struggle with it. But Jared, I want to point to you. This occurred to me in the middle of all this, and it's kind of off topic a little bit. But on Instagram, there's a little girl. You might already know about her. Her name is Ellen, and her handle or whatever on Instagram is Ellen Plays Bass. So if you don't know about her, you have homework because this kid, she's probably 10, maybe, and her dad's a guitarist, and they jam together. She plays stuff from Rush. She plays all of it, and she's met Steve Vai before, worked with him. So just cool kid to kind of look up to in kind of a weird way because she's younger and just a kid, but yeah, just a great bass player. And then she's kind of bringing bass back, right? Bass is like drums. They're sitting in the kind of foreground, and you got your lead guitarist and your vocalist who are taking the limelight. And I'm glad to see the bass is kind of coming back, especially with her. That is very cool. All right, so you guys, you are all in high school. You're about to graduate. One has graduated. You're sort of at a crossroads. I was at the same crossroads that you're at. Are we looking at maybe sticking together and pushing forward as a band and trying to make this happen? Or is this going to be something that you're going to get jobs and go do college around here? And, have you talked about the next year for you guys?
This is Jared again.
Okay.
Michael, I'll let you add something to say it. But when it comes to this band, I mean, we've really created something that we just love, and even if we never got a big fan base or took off or anything, we're four friends that just started something that we love, and I like to think that and say that I put in way too much effort for us to just give up randomly.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, Michael, what do you want to say?
Well, yeah, even though we're going off to college, it's not like we're going very far. Like Jared's just 3 hours away, or maybe it's like 2.5. And then Austin and I are going to KSU.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll be there together. So it's gonna be pretty easy to stay together and have our band community, I guess.
Yeah, I was listening to a podcast just the other day, and this same topic was present, and the band actually formed apart from each other. They were all kind of like you guys, looking, I need a bass player, and I need this and that, and they formed states away. But with the technology we have today, they record their parts, they send them in, someone mixes it, sends it back out. It's very doable. So I think with the passion, and like you said, to not just give up on the drop of a dime, but you all feel like there's something there. There's a random question. I know the answer, but explain to the audience the origin of the name 5-Piece Kit.
Josh, want to get this one?
Yeah. So, there are a lot of, I think we kind of we passed around the idea of like, just make up a bunch of stories and then start telling those so no one actually knows. We do that with like everything because we think it's hilarious.
Yeah.
But
I hear you.
The name refers to, like the pieces of a drum set. We all, we fit together like that. Without each of us, it didn't work. We all bring something different together, like the pieces of a drum set. You need that. And 5 just sounded better than 4. So, yeah.
Well, and plus, just like you said, it's kind of a conversation starter because I tell me if I'm wrong, but this is my prediction that probably more times than not, someone is going to you guys and is like, "Where's the 5th guy? What's going on?"
Yeah.
It's my favorite question. I make up random people. I'm like, "Oh, you haven't met Jeff yet? That's crazy."
He just comes and goes whenever he wants. If you listen really carefully to track 4, you can hear him play. That'd be cool. All right. So, and you guys are at the ripe age. I read your notes that music, it is a business. And a lot of people who just absorb the music and listen to Spotify and Apple Music and all that, they're just like, I love my favorite bands and this is great. And they pay the concert tickets and the merch. They have no idea that besides the time when you're on that stage or besides the time when you're recording the song, there's a whole lot of other stuff going on. And your notes were very specific, and I like it because actually you're the first to give me details on really what's involved in running the business end of it. So does someone want to talk about that? Because there's going to be somebody who, after hearing this, they're going to go, you know what, I want to pick up a bass and I want to learn it. Or I want to take drums and I want to learn them. But they need to know down the road, if they try to go for it, they need to kind of do X, Y, and Z. You know what I'm saying?
This is Jared. I'll take this question.
Okay.
No, yeah, that's a very, very good question, because when we started this band, I did not understand what it would be like for this. And my role as part of this band has been the bass player, but also the businessman.
Mm-hmm.
And I have, there's been many nights where I'm just like sitting at my computer, staring, not knowing what to do. But you're officially on the phone call with 5 Piece Kit LLC.
Ooh.
So the 4 of us are the members of our business. We're an LLC. So I got all that figured out, all the paperwork filed, and and that's for all of our tax information when we get paid. And I really didn't understand that we'd have to form an official business and file all this paperwork, like the Secretary of State's office, just to play music together. But it's been a great learning experience. Like you said, we're 18, 19, and I'm able to just learn, what it's like to start your own business and what you have to go through and what paperwork you need to file. And it's been really cool for my major too. I'm a marketing major, so I'm kind of learning a little bit of what that's like for in the next 3 years when I go off into the business world. So it's been a lot of fun, but it has been definitely interesting.
Yeah, and it's not something that you see necessarily on social media, because it's not the glitz and glamour part of the job, right? It's not the new single, it's not the new instrument, but it's the stuff that has to get done. And ideally, there's somebody who's not a non-creative, someone who's a very left-brain thinker who can do those things and take care of those tasks and let the band create, right? So that'll be the dream, where you guys can have a business manager and Jared can focus on the bass and art, right? But
that's Jared's our marketing guy right now.
That's the dream.
And
he's our marketing and business manager.
And marketing is crazy, because you have all the tools at your disposal with the things that we can do on our phones, but it's still hard. You can't just push a button and say, hey, we're going to have thousands of followers, right? Wow. I'm glad. It's very refreshing to hear that, because I work with high schoolers a lot, and I bet if I asked 9 out of 10 of them, they would say, well, what are you talking about? What do you mean? And you've learned it. You've gone through the process, and so that's great for people listening. Well, let's get into the music. There's a new single out, Say We're Right. Let's talk about that one, like where it came from, who was the brainchild behind it, who writes your lyrics, that kind of stuff. How did that one get recorded? Whatever you want to say about it.
So the way a lot of our songs get written is Austin will come to us and be like, hey, I got a cool guitar riff. What do y'all want to do with it? And then for lyrics, I'll go through, and I have this like massive notes app just full of out of context lyrics that haven't been used yet. And I'll just be like, all right, this one sounds cool. Let's do it. Normally I try to like tie it together with a theme, and with Say We're Right. It's just like around Christmas time, it's like, as the kids call it, like cuffing season, where it's like everyone's getting into relationships. And I'm like, okay, let's do something like that. But what if it doesn't work? And we kind of evolved it from there. I know Austin can touch on, like, musically, how it got pieced together, because I'm just a vocal guy, but it's a really interesting process putting songs together.
Absolutely, yeah. So what about the music, Austin?
Well, Austin, I'm Michael right now.
Okay.
Austin and I, we can definitely go into detail, but we kind of have this, like, every time we make music, Austin and I say we're on the same wavelength every time, because we've been playing for, like, I've known him for like 5-6 years, and we've been playing music together for like basically that long. Mm-hmm. So we kind of just know there's something in our brains that clicks whenever we make songs, and that's kind of what happened with this one. But yeah, Austin, if you want to add anything.
I was going to interject real quick, maybe while Austin's grabbing his phone.
Yeah.
Get off the TikTok, Austin. Because so you two potentially, if there was a pretty solid rhythm pattern, 4/4, whatever is going on, you could pick off of each other, no vocals needed, nothing else and just jam for hours on end and throw in variety and it would be a decent rhythm. Is that what I'm getting?
Yeah. Well, Austin and I were in jazz band together, and he started on piano and then moved over to guitar. So whenever Austin and I are playing together, we have like I have the drum set and he's on guitar. We'll usually start with different genres. Like we'll either start with jazz and then slowly evolve into like some blues type, and then we'll go into like pop punk. So it's just like bouncing through a bunch of different like grooves and chord structures, and then we land on something that's cool, and then Josh is like, "Oh, I like that. We're gonna use that."
Huh. Are these pieces and these grooves that you're playing, do you think those are echoes of songs you've heard and they're just kind of filtering through and coming out of your instruments, or are they pieces that you learned at some point?
Yeah, I would say definitely a mix of both.
Okay.
For me personally, I just it's different on drums because guitar you kind of have to. Austin's like a music theory nerd, and he's really good with that. So it kind of comes naturally to him.
Mm-hmm.
But on drums, it's more of trying something new every time. Like if I play a jazz groove, it's normally all the same. But if I mix it up with different like bass drum patterns or different like hits, it'll start to sound different.
Yeah, I can see that. That's really cool. There's a guy, his podcast will come up before you. It's his name is Kent Auberly. He's a local drummer in Atlanta, but he tours all over the place. He's about to go to Europe, and he does essentially the same thing. He's got some songs, but he and a guy they sit in the park on Saturday or Sunday down in Atlanta and just jam for a couple of hours. And I get the feeling it's a lot of impromptu with some basic rhythms that go along, and so they're doing the same thing that you guys are doing, and it's really cool. Very good. So let's say we got the music, you guys got a groove you like, and you're just jazzed about it, and you're mixing in some vocals. Is it typically when everyone's together that the song really gels, or is it usually like the two of you and then Josh will bring some vocals and then you guys think, okay, well, we need to add a bass part. So Jared, here you go. Here's what we've come up with. Is it pieced out that way, or do you guys feel like in the foursome, it's the best environment to kind of get those finishing touches on the song, or at least the evolution of it?
I'll let Austin jump in if he wants to here in a second, but no, I mean, it kind of depends, I guess. I really see everything come together when we're in the studio and when we have an idea and we're kind of recording it through software, and we just keep adding and like Josh is like, dude, let me put vocals here, or Michael's like, it'd be really good here, or like some bongos or something. That's where I really see it form together. But when it comes to the songwriting, that really just happens while we're just kind of sitting around, and it's in the times that you think it really won't happen. The times that we're like, we really need a song and we need to finish an entire song, we'll be sitting there with just like no ideas. Mm-hmm. But when we're all together and we're just kind of messing around, that's really when the magic happens, I guess. I slightly disagree with you. I think I hear the song come together when we do our first like voice memo, and we have like a bunch of voice memos. Like whenever we write a song, it's usually within the day. Mm-hmm. So we'll have like Josh honestly writes words so quickly. Like Austin and I will set on something, and then we'll like loop it for like 10 minutes. Yeah. And Josh will already have words because he has that like the bank of like phrases and words to think off. But once we like set the basics of the songs, we just go through it and just record it on someone's phone, and then send it to the group chat, and then we'll think about it and start like brainstorming off that. I feel like that is when the song comes together for me.
Interesting. Yeah, and the perspective could be different for each person because you're all bringing different things to the table. And I imagine it sounds like music groove kind of happens, and the vocals are sitting and waiting in terms of like the big notes app. And then it's just almost like a fishing expedition. So Josh, this is more of a question for you because it baffles me. I'm with the drummer guys because I played percussion when I was a kid, and I can write. I'm very communicative and whatever. But for me to mix words with music seems daunting. It seems like I don't think I could do it. And so Josh, I'm wondering, you may not be able to pinpoint this, but when you hear a groove or you hear something on a loop for 10 minutes, what do you think it is about a certain style of music or certain groove that grabs your mind and your eyes into that notes app, and you're like, I think those words should go to it? Is it just you just let it happen, or is there a process?
Yeah. So generally, so my musical journey kind of started. I was in like musical theater all the way up until like freshman year when I was like, I don't think this is for me. He'll sound too pretty. I need to go somewhere I can scream. And you know, we started like around that time. And I'll being able to hear words go with different grooves is it's not as easy as I thought it would be when I started writing music, but I think it comes from being in musical theater and then just falling in love with so many different genres, and then the matching lyrics to what it is. I kind of have to vibe it out. I'll listen and I'll just scroll through, reading through everything. I've got stuff from months ago that I didn't use until yesterday. It's like a matching exercise where it's like, I got to figure out where everything goes. It can't just go, you know?
Yeah, you don't want to arbitrarily just push it there. Interesting. Okay, so this is a challenge for you, Josh. Do you think you could go in the reverse direction and scroll through your apps and go, I love this lyric. Hey, guys, I think we need this, and describe musically what you think should be there? Or do you think that's an impossible direction?
So I think I've had to do this before because I play guitar. We all play drum set, but like I'm not going to pat myself on the back, but I am going to be very honest. I am not good at guitar. I kind of take a different approach than Austin does. Austin is one of the smartest musicians I have ever come across. He is an absolute genius with music theory. It's crazy. And I legitimately can barely read music. I can't do it anymore. Like, I am not a great musician. So I'll go to Austin and I'll be like, hey, I need something like, and then I'll hum a little melody to him, and he'll go, okay, that's the fourth, that's the fifth, that's the minor 18th or whatever. All right, we're going to go to this, we're going to go to this, we're going to do that. And then like we just build songs like that, and it is a very difficult process, but I think the end result is always killer when we go through it like that.
And I think you answered the question with the humming, because you're generating with the simplest of instruments. You have a tone, you have a thought, you have some movements of the notes up and down, and so your mind is enabling the words to have some musical freedom in there. It's not the end result with the real instruments, but I think you can. So, wow, bravo. I figured it'd be one way and not the other, but that's cool. Let's move into Backseat. What about that one? Do you guys have any memories or behind the scenes stories or crazy things that happened with that song?
This is Jared. I actually have a quick little tidbit for it. That song was written and pretty much mainly produced while I was overseas in Germany. I was probably waking up for the morning, so they were probably like awake at night. And I wake up to a text of like, hey, Jared, here's our next song that we're going to like add to our EP. And I'm like, what is going on? I'm not even like, I'm 12 hours away.
Yeah.
Well, this is Michael, and that song was pretty much written in a day.
Wow.
And it was just a full day over at my house where, cause usually we have practice at Josh's house cause he has all the instruments. In my house, I have like, some recording gear. It's like a mini studio. I'm very proud of it.
I bet.
So,
yeah, it sounds cool.
So they came over here and we just started, we had like some inspiration and then we just kind of went through the entire song, and we started like maybe 1 in the afternoon and then 11 at night. And this was during the summer, so we had all the time in the world.
Right.
But so we had a almost finished product like 11 at night. So we just walked around my neighborhood, just listening to it on my little speaker. And, it kind of just came around. And the solo in it was written basically in that day too. And it just felt so awesome that day.
Yeah, I gotta imagine that's a super cool feeling to come up with something that you can feel good about, and it's in quick motion, like it's almost an ecstasy kind of thing. Like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this happened. That's amazing.
Yeah, it was like a surprise.
Yeah, like a surprise.
I think that song also started a tradition of me playing like a chord progression, and then Austin asking me what are those chords, and then me having no idea. I think that was the origin place of what are those chords. I could not tell you.
That happens a lot now. Well, it happens less now, but that was a main thing that happened.
What are those chords? I could not tell you. I have no idea.
What key is this in? I have no idea.
This one. What? Okay.
You're the guitar guy. Figure it out.
Yeah, it's like fifth fret. That's the key.
And I've heard many stories. If you go back in the history of music, and you're like, and who can read music and who can't, and who just sits there and does it, and who really pines over it. In the end, it's the art itself that stands, right? So the song is going to live on its own the way it is, and so I appreciate both kinds of musicians in one respect, because one has studied and gone through the motions of noting the notes, and the other one is like, played a lot and figured out, what, this is a scale, or this is what a scale sounds like, and this is sharp, and this is flat, and all of that, but not assigning all the mechanisms to it. So I think that's awesome in any case. Okay, so that's Back Seat. What about Hideaway?
Ooh.
Oh.
So I'll take this one.
Okay.
That's all awesome. So this is Austin speaking.
Okay.
I wrote Hideaway about a past relationship of mine, about someone that just wasn't willing to open up their feelings. It's hard for people to open up a little bit.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it was becoming an unhealthy relationship because one side of it was having all these issues, but wasn't willing to even try to let me help.
Yeah.
So that's what the song's about. And as far as the instrumental goes, I had actually written that song before Five Piece Kid existed.
Oh.
So that one's completely written by me.
Yeah, that one existed when it was just you and me doing music in my bedroom.
Yeah, so a lot of the influence for that song comes from my taste of music, which is had indie rock, indie pop, surf rock, so that kind of genre.
Uh-huh.
And I think what attracts me to that kind of genre so much is, what Michael mentioned earlier, that I have a huge jazz background.
Yeah.
Within jazz guitar. So all of the chords in that, they have major seven, an add 9 chord, dominant 7. It's all these really funky chords that you're not normally going to see in modern day pop music, let alone rock music like that.
Mm-hmm.
So for me to be able to express my jazz background in something that I was dealing with at the time, Hideaway came out at the end of the day.
Yeah. And that's the magic right there. That is probably one of the main reasons you guys do what you do, is to let what's happening to you come out. It's going to come out in music. It's going to come out in words. It's going to come out in your feelings, and it's going to be there. Do you feel like, and this is for everyone, do you guys feel like you're pretty authentic, or want to be authentic with your lyrics and with your music? And it's not a show per se. It's
yeah.
Yeah. No, I think that's a pretty big thing to all of us, where I don't even in when I write my songs, almost all of them are direct conversations with who they're about or what they're about.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't pull anything.
Yeah, the lyrics are really the super unique in our kind of obviously our music has inspirations from legends that we like to listen to.
Right.
So, but it's really our vocals that kind of are super unique and stand out.
Yeah, I can believe it. You guys, if you don't know of them, interviewed Perfect Animal. They're a local band too, and they said basically the same thing, that they like to stand behind that and if you listen to the rawness of some of the lyrics and really think about it, it's like into the core of the person, and that's what the vocalist was telling me in their interview, was just like he doesn't mind. It's kind of like taking the body cavity in a surgery and opening it up and just saying, here I am, look at me. And I think that's admirable, because some people I know in this business, I don't know them personally, but I hear their lyrics and they just seem kind of like just on the surface, and I can't connect. So I admire you guys for going for that, because that's what's going to bring you the fans. The fans are going to feel the words, and it's going to be something that's happened to them. So way back to the beginning, or maybe Hideaway was really beginning, but Blue Vans is the last song to mention. What about that one?
Wow, that one is a journey.
A journey.
That one took a long time.
No, that song has existed forever. We tried to record it 2 years ago?
I would say the total amount of times we tried to record it was 4.
It was there were 4 individual attempts to record it, and I think we've had to re-record vocals for it. I think we counted 12 times.
Why do you think that was?
It was,
I would say inexperience.
Yeah, that's a pretty solid answer to that.
So you were learning your instrument still, and you were learning how to make a song, and it was just the best you could do at the time. And then you're like, wait, we can do better. And then you finally, you had to pull the plug and say, this is going to be it. This is our final. And that's a question on its own, because I always wonder, is a song truly finished? Do you guys feel like in the end, say for example, with Say We're Right, and you guys are on stage playing that song. I know some bands that stay absolutely true note for note to the music, and then some play around with it a lot. And that playing around with it tells me, hey, maybe you wanted some changes in it, or you would like some changes in the future, 2.0 kind of thing. Do you guys feel like once it's done, it's done?
So I think this is awesome. I'll take this one first, Michael. I think what we do specifically is we start in the practice room that we have, and we'll write the song, and then we'll go, okay, let's take this to the studio. And in the studio, we're playing exactly what we're playing in the room, and then we're adding ear candy. So in Say We're Right, in the bridge area, you can hear a lot of stuff that's just not able to be done live with the amount of people we have.
Yeah.
So we've got slide guitars. You can hear a little bongo solo that's split in the background. So I would say that the song is not fully done until we're done at the studio. Unfortunately, we're just not able to do that stuff on stage in the current spot. If we were playing with in-ears and tracks and all that, it would 100% be possible. But unfortunately, the song can only, I think, they might disagree. I think the song can only be truly done in the studio.
Interesting.
I do agree with that. And I would love to have a 50-person band to play every instrument. So it just sounds perfect. But I like what you mentioned. I don't think I could ever feel like a song is fully done. I'm always what if we added this, or what if we changed that, or what if we re-recorded it?
That's a hard one, because then if you said, I can imagine if I were in the band, so I'm the 5th guy. I think that we, every time we play that song, I really want to change this, and I'm like the naysayer, and then you guys are looking at me like, well, we recorded this, we agreed on it, come on, and I can imagine an opinion in that area would cause some tension. So I didn't need to do that if that happened. I'm just looking for creative thoughts, because the reason I brought it up was because I know Rush, which is kind of where this podcast is named after, their song Limelight. I've been a Rush fan my whole life. I know that they struggled with the very same thing, so they came up with very intricate time sequences and sampled things, and they have the bass player was playing with his feet, he was playing keyboards with his feet, all this stuff, and the struggle to bring that to the stage was immense, and they had 3 guys. So that is probably something that you have to kind of at some point say, well, we want the glockenspiel and we want the choir and we want the strings, but then, yeah, you're right. Bring it on stage. And what do you do? So very cool. Okay. Balance. I like to ask this one a lot, and you guys are the perfect age for it because you're graduating. You've got college applications that are probably done. Yeah, they're done. And sports perhaps, or extracurriculars or clubs. And you've got this business, and then you have the music. Is it a whole lot to manage, or do you guys just kind of, you make it work and it doesn't seem to be too stressful?
Michael,
I'll go first. Well, we've kind of had this conversation a few times, and we always have, we have practices on Sundays, and we always set aside that time to have practice. So to me, I never feel like 5-piece kit is ever in the way, because I always know on Sunday that's whenever we do our thing, and I can think about it during the week, but we have scheduled like get-togethers on Sundays.
Yeah, I feel like we've all become a part of each other's routine, where we're like, oh, well, I want to express this through music. Oh, I got 5-piece kit on Sunday. For me, the balance is kind of odd. I'm not actively like in person in a high school. I'm online and I work full time at a salon.
Okay.
So finding like time to fit music in, it's not like, oh, I can just right after school run home and do music and we can have an emergency rehearsal. It's like I have to work until 8 tonight. I work 9 to 8. It's finding that balance is difficult, but at the same time, it's like I wouldn't have it any other way. It's what I want to balance.
Yeah, and
go
ahead. No,
sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, I know, like I said, I know high schoolers, and I see that happen. I see that they're studious, they get their stuff done, and they're maybe in a sport or two, and everything's great, but then they got to get a job for whatever reason, and they get this job, and it's their whole life changes. They come in and they want to try to sleep in class, and it's just they're exhausted, and it's in a different kind of way. Like and you guys are dealing with an opposite schedule sort of thing. So the ones that are in school still versus like 8 to 3 school, and then versus you working at the salon at night, the times don't match up as much, and so it is hard to manage. That's what I was getting at, because a lot of people like the business end of the music. They don't understand that. They're like, oh, yeah, just a bunch of kids, and they like to sit together and they play music, and it's great. But there's some purposeful decisions that have to take place. You guys have to dedicate time to get together. Not have to, want to, and get to. But it's a scheduled thing, and it's a regular thing to keep it going. And anyway, I'm sorry, whoever I interrupted. My bad.
Oh, it's all good. This is Jared. I was just gonna say, we have those scheduled Sundays. We've kind of become a part of each other's everyday life. But I'm always on my computer texting the guys like, "Hey, did you have a chance to go to the bank today? Were you able to get in the studio?" So I'm always. I feel like my life is kind of. I don't think the word "consume" is a good adjective. My life is like 5-piece kit now. It's my hobby. It's what I love to do. So now that I'm in college, I go to class and I go home and I do 5-piece kit and I hang out with friends, and it's just it became a hobby that became a little bit more than a hobby, and finding that was a little difficult at first. But I think the guys and I are all just extremely happy with where we're at, and being able to release music on Spotify, like Say We're Right, it's just seeing the fruit of what we put so much time into, and that's what really just like makes me, that's what fulfills me. That brings just, I know all my effort that we've put in has amounted to something, and it hasn't just been in vain. And it's just that I just love sitting there. I watch the stream count. I'll look at it like every day. I'm like, hey, 2 people streamed their song today, and I'm just like, that's what brings me joy, and it allows me to take my hobby and make it into something a little bit more.
Yeah, and you hit on something super important that I think is probably universal with most musicians and artists out there. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think I've pinned it down. Is so, and I see a lot of posts from pre-save this and please do this, and they're pushing a new release coming out, and it can get to be a lot for the fan to go, okay, well I've pre-saved, why are they still reminding me? But it's purposeful because you want that buy-in and that excitement, because you as an artist are literally looking at the streaming, because you don't get a receipt. You don't get, like the olden days when I would go to the store and buy the CD or whatever, and then part of the proceeds would go to the band directly. There's no like physical chain. Of course, Spotify pays their 500,000 point decimal penny stuff, but it's nothing. And but for you to actively see but how many people are streaming it, and then sometimes which countries, that is super gratifying, right? It's an endorsement on, like you said, all of the work that you've put in. So I
yeah, no, like 100%. Like it's really it's for fun, but at the same time, you want the product that you've made that means so much to you. You want it to mean something to somebody else too.
Yeah.
So just to see that people are interested in what we have to say and in the music that we make, that's what really is just like a really cool experience for us.
Yeah, so it's not even like, oh, 2 people are streaming it. Great. When I get 300, I'm going to get a check for $1. It's nothing like that. It's, whoa, somebody is grabbing onto what I've done, and they're integrating with it, right? They're interacting with it. That's the true joy of the art you do. And I think that's great. That's a really good approach, because I feel like some people in the music business, they approach it from the dollar perspective, and I got to make bank and I got to do all this. And it might be a disappointing road, but if you create art for the sake of art's sake and for making it meaningful for people, and then they actually come to it, that's got to be so gratifying. Very cool. Any other thoughts on that from you guys?
I think you said it all.
Okay. You're almost basically, I'd say, too young for this question, but I'll go ahead and ask it. So look back at your, I don't know, freshman selves, and if you were going to start this journey over again, would you change anything? Would you do anything differently?
I don't know about you guys. I don't really regret where we are and all the things that, like a lot of people say, this everything that's happened has led us to where we are now. So I'm pretty happy where we are. But I mean, there's definitely a few like times we recorded blue bands where I would be like, hey, just don't do it like that.
You sort of erase those, yeah.
Yeah.
No, I'm in a really similar boat to that, where I feel like all of our musical experiences leading up to here, it's made us who we are. Even those recordings of blue vans, we learned maybe don't do that 8 times, but that we won't do it again. So it's all of this is just learning, and that learning leading us to making this art we love is going to contribute into our next season of learning, into making more art we love. And that's just the cycle of how it's going to go for us, and we love it.
That's cool. I love that answer. Go ahead.
This is Jared again. I mean, I agree. I mean, I wish I could go back to like my freshman year self or sophomore year self and tell them like what I was getting myself into. But I didn't realize, this is kind of a personal story, man. I didn't realize how passionate I was about music until this band, like until I joined. I was kind of at a place with music where I was just like, I didn't really want anything to do with it. My experience was just music at school, like concert music or marching band, and it wasn't really for me. And when Austin kind of got a hold of me and showed me like what the world of music could be like, and creating our own sound and putting it out there for people to see, I became so passionate about it. I mean, passionate enough to be able to want to keep doing this and turn it into a business. So, and that's kind of where I am now. Like after school, with my marketing degree, I would love to work in the music industry, and I work for a company that makes music or distributes music. Cause like, it's just something that I'm passionate about now.
Yeah, isn't that crazy? It reminds me a lot of, from a teacher's perspective, just so you guys know, like when teachers teach, they hope it lands on the students and that you guys learn and all that. It's great. But so many times it's when a student gets with another student and they reteach the information, that's when it sticks. So for you to be sort of not educated, but enlightened, maybe is the word, from a colleague, from a friend about a passion that was inside of you and bring it out, help you help it emerge. I think that's amazing, because that's not something that may have happened ordinarily in just listening, turning on Spotify or the radio or whatever, but to have somebody close to you that say, hey, what do you think about this? And let's try this. And then the music starts coming out of you. That's pretty inspirational. Awesome. Well, I always like to talk about gear. Are you guys like gearheads? Do you have certain brands that you like? Guitars, you got to have a Fender, you got to have a Gretsch, or you got to do this. Any sort of like go-to instruments that you kind of swear by?
Oh, this is Austin's favorite thing.
Yeah, this is a big Austin question.
All Austin. Okay.
I will say real quick before Austin goes down his lane. We love snare weight. They've sent us stuff in the past. It's like a snare dampener. It's great for tuning your drums and stuff. But they've sent us some gear in the past, so we really like them. We use it on all of our drums.
Hey, cool. Will you send me a link to their stuff and I'll put it on your page on the podcast?
Yes, of course.
Okay, perfect. Austin, I'm ready for you.
All right. So as far as gear-wise go, for guitars, I'm a big believer in that the guitar should match the music and style that you're playing. So I really like having different types of guitars in the room to introduce different sounds, different noises, all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't want to go down my 4-hour rabbit hole, but just to give a little rundown, Josh uses a Fender or a Squier contemporary Telecaster.
Mm-hmm.
So whenever we need something really punchy and rocky, we throw him on that. He's also got this semi-hollow Gretsch, which is great for a little bit lighter style music.
Uh-huh.
So whenever we play stuff like Hideaway, we've got stuff for that. And I used to have a bunch of guitars, and I sold them because I just didn't really play them as much. I just got myself a Harley Benton guitar.
Oh.
It's a great guitar. It's really you can use for everything. Everything we play, I use it on. Sounds great. Jared, I think he mentioned a little bit earlier how he bought like a nice Fender bass.
Mm-hmm.
He has a Fender Precision bass, which is great because it goes literally with anything, and it looks great on him too.
Nice.
And like I said, I think the guitar should match the style. So all of our guitars look how I would say they look like Pisces Kid.
Ah.
Yeah. As far as our pedal boards go, Josh and I have the same pedal board, and I could talk about this pedal board for like hours.
And it's constantly evolving.
I'll just give you the name.
Okay.
I'll just give you the name. It's the Line 6 Pod Go. Okay. And for nerds like me, it's amazing because it's a multi-effect. So it's one big programmable pedal, essentially. And you can get so many sounds on this, and I can program like one button to change like 7 different pedals on there.
Really?
So it's really versatile for bands like us who play so many different styles of music that I don't have to worry about trying to dial in the same 7 analog pedals to sound different.
Gotcha.
I can just have one thing tell me something sounds different.
Yeah, that sounds clean. The setup should be clean too. You got a little back end work to do it ahead of time to get it all programmed, but once you're ready, just throw it out there. Nice.
Well, because when we're songwriting, Josh will be like, yeah, I want a guitar to sound like this. And I'm like, that's perfect. I'll go home. I'll spend hours programming the perfect setting. I'll get back and, it's like the perfect tone. And it'll actually end up what we end up using on the song in the studio.
Yeah, it's great for me because I just get to push a button and my guitar sounds cool. So, it works great for me.
Yeah, it brings the vision together really quickly.
Yeah. I really like the technical side of music. So in our practice room, like the mixing board is by me. So I like getting like really deep into all that stuff. Michael's drum set is just a Mapex, I want to say maybe a Mars kit.
Uh-huh.
And we slowly but surely evolved equipment-wise as a band. Because when we started out, we we were running Josh's vocals through like a very tiny guitar amp, and none of us actually had like nice gear. So for us to be in a spot now,
schoolers, that is
actually presentable. Yeah, but for us to be in a spot now where our gear is actually presentable, and we're when we like play somewhere, we're like, wow, like, oh, someone's like asking to use our gear because it's good. Because like I said earlier, and I think it's the third time I said it, I really think it's like a big picture thing.
Yeah.
But your gear should match your band.
Okay, well, this is a comment for Jared because it's on the business end, and I want to make sure I'm speaking to the right person. But when you listen to the Kent Arberly podcast, we didn't talk about it too much, but he is a big proponent of insurance, gear insurance, because you'll take it to a gig and you're loading in, loading out, and someone's watching you, and then boom, smash and grab, and your stuff is gone that you've just saved to get. So I will encourage you to look into that. I don't know a name of a kind. I don't know where to steer you, but that is a thing. And you guys, now that you're starting to collect some good gear, I would suggest looking at it. Very cool.
Yeah, that's definitely something that I'll have to check out. The guys will probably hate me, but now you're giving me an idea.
It's going to enter the group chat now, and be this source of discussion for a while. But trust me, it may not be something you'll do right away, but it's something you could plan for and kind of put some stuff away to save for, because you just never know. It's a $1,200 guitar and it's gone in 20 seconds. It's like, well, okay. Well, that's bringing us towards the end. Is there something, I haven't actually asked this in all the podcasts that we've done so far, but I've always had it in my notes, so you guys are going to get it first. Is there something about you that you've never told your friends about, and this is about music related, I guess, or could be personal, but something quirky about the band or quirky about one of you guys that, that no one knows, that you haven't announced on stage, that you haven't told anybody, that you would like to reveal here? Could be
that's a really good question.
Yeah, it's tough.
Anyone want to own up to something?
I would say our biggest secret is that Josh has 17 fingers. That's it.
Bro, that's not okay. You can't say that. I don't want anyone to know.
Well, it's okay. Sometimes we just have to be honest with the world and tell them the way it is.
But I think on a serious note, I'm sorry, Josh. You can talk about it. I promise.
Yeah.
I think on a serious note, I don't think a lot of people see the public image of us, but a lot of people don't understand that when you have a band of people who are all so passionate about music and want to have the best product they can, the amount of actual fights that happen. It's getting in the ugly business of 5-piece kit, but there are practices where we leave and we don't talk to each other for a couple of days because we're like, you don't think someone would disagree on music that much, but unfortunately, it's what happens.
And do you attribute that to all of you being so ingrained and passionate about music, or just because sometimes you have an attitude?
Well, we are teenagers, so
we just hate each other.
The attitude is a thing.
So those random emotions that happen.
Yeah, I think a lot of time it is the music, because we're all really, really good about when you enter that practice room. You have two options. You can leave your emotions at the door, or you can show your emotions through your playing and your music.
Interesting. That's a good choice. Yeah.
Because I always say that music isn't just something you listen to; it's a language for those who don't understand how to put something in words.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
I love that quote.
And it's not like we're like arguing all the time. We all hate each other. It's kind of like what you said. Like, we have very strong music opinions, and sometimes it's just like, oh, I really like this and I really want to do this, but everyone kind of disagrees. So if you don't really harness that all together, it kind of gets pretty chaotic.
I also think that's where we really get our sound from. This is Jared talking.
Mm-hmm.
Just I mean, because we're all different, so opinionated and everything. I think our sound is kind of interesting. We always try to think of like a genre that we fit in, and it really varies song by song. And I think that's just because we're so open to everyone having their own voice. We're not really all about having our niche or anything like that. And we're really about making music that we like and that kind of fits what everyone wants to make. And I think that's one thing that kind of makes us a little unique in that sense.
Yeah, I'm gonna interject here with something that may or may not make total sense and be related. But I was your age, and there was this girl that I liked, and I was like, "Hey, you want to go out?" And she said, "You know what? We're too much alike to go out. I think we need to be more different because opposites attract." And so we didn't, right? And so lost her, but that lesson stuck with me. And so I think not the oppositeness that you guys have, but definitely the solid sense of opinion is a great thing. Because if you had somebody who ruled the roost and said, you're going to do this, which Jared is in the position to do it because he's a business manager, but it sounds like he is asking you guys to help to chip in and do the things and go to the bank and do all that. And that's the beautiful part of the relationship, is that you bring yourself and you contribute that into it instead of saying it's going to be my way or the highway. And so agreements or disagreements are going to happen inevitably, but it sounds like you guys come back together and make music again. So it should work. I like that. Well, cool. It's been a really great talk. Any things on the horizon, big plans before we close, and have you guys kind of tell us about your socials and meet and how to reach you and all that? Is there like a thing you're looking forward to doing as a group coming down the pike?
Jerry can talk about our Instagrams and stuff all day.
Yeah, I mean, we'll talk about Say We're Right came out should be like 3 weeks ago. It was on the 4th.
Uh-huh.
That was a single that we really put a lot of work into, that we really just
and money
loved making. Yeah.
So you're looking forward to some streams on that. You're like, stream that baby.
So we'll be trying to get some shows and just kind of market that song for a while. But we're always working on songwriting and everything. So we haven't really mentioned it to anybody, but I know we are working on an album and kind of formatting that and getting something that we really like. That's just gonna be a while in the making. Just recording time, getting together, getting the money together. That will be a while, but that will be hopefully in the near future, maybe in 2023 or 2024. And our social, when it comes to our socials and everything, we're Instagram is usually our biggest one.
Mm-hmm.
And we have hyperlinks through DistroKid that put you to our Facebook or our TikTok, or take you straight to our music, Spotify, Apple Music, all the streaming services. That's really where you can come and hear our music. But Instagram is usually where we make most of our announcements and stuff like that.
Yeah, Instagram's a pretty good platform. A lot of the performers that come on this show use that, and I think it lends itself for good sharing and conversations and whatnot. Sounds good. Yeah. Well, I wish you guys the best down the road, and if when changes happen and something big happens, you promise you'll call me back up and we'll schedule round 2.
That'd be awesome.
Excellent.
Yeah, we would love
great.
to. Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having us. Taking a chance on the teenagers here, but
hey, there are no restrictions or limitations on this show, because I feel like anyone can learn from anybody. That there is no minimum or no maximum age, no maximum talent. We like to put in here the people that can share their stories, and it really comes down to, this is advice for anyone who's applying to be on the show. It's the bio and the comments that you put in that questionnaire that really are they meaningful? Do you sound like you're passionate about what you do? And that came through with what you guys wrote down. So it's been a true pleasure, and I mean it. If you guys, when something happens on down the road, we'd love to have you back.
Thank you. Well, thank you.
Fantastic. All right. Well, enjoy the evening, and we'll talk to you soon.
You too.
Yes.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
that only one can stay. I pick so slowly, it would make them both go away. I may not have any self-control, and I know I will. No, I'll regret this day. It was nothing I had. It was just what you want. It was nothing we had. You just can't let go. It's not our time to say we're right. I promise I wanna make this work.